Okay, everyone's made a bunch of arguments about why billionaires can't be good people, but I'm going to show you why.
This was a video I meant to stitch a while back. I'm a little behind as life happens and get busy. And again, this has been a hobby for me. So unless I suddenly get paid full time to do this, it's going to be a hobby. But anyway, he brings up a lot of good points as to why billionaires can't be good people. But I want billionaires can't be good people. Sorry, I'm talking fast. But I wanted to touch on a little bit of something different. Okay. And not the billionaire portion, but what would happen if the common person and lots of common people got, $1 million each or whatnot, why it's a 50-50 they would or would not be evil, right? So a person who suddenly comes into $1 million or they slowly acquire that, it's going to be a 50-50 because the way they got that money is going to be vastly different than them never having to have worked for it. In my opinion, the average person, and as I said in a different video, I gave a statistic about how 65% of people make less than $100,000. 65% of Americans make less than $100,000, the average person in America. I think that they would do good. They would help those around them. I know I would. I've talked about it numerous times with friends, with my partner and stuff, that if I was to win the lottery, we're talking good amount of lottery, I would be, helping my friends. I'd pay their houses off, their cars off. They need a different car. I'd buy them a car. And I know a lot of people who are financial advisors or think they are would be like, well, you can't just do that. No, you can. You can do those things. There is nothing stopping a billionaire, and that guy talks about it in the video I stitched. There's nothing stopping a billionaire from fixing any of these problems. It's just greed. It's just greed. That's it. But between charitable donations, gifting people money, or just setting up a corporation to buy property and then give it to them, or to provide them property in tax-free, all of the loopholes are there. All of the legal stuff is there to allow you to do this. But billionaires are hoarding this money. They have no incentive to do good, whereas the average person does. And in another video I did, I talked about that, where the money that was given out in COVID relief, $4.6 trillion, mainly given to businesses, if it had been given to the people, a lot more good would have been done. It would have helped the economy. People would have helped themselves, all of that. But no, I think the average person, if you made them wealthy, the average person, they would do a lot more good than you could ever possibly imagine. I mean, just so much you can't imagine. We've seen one-offs where people come into money via lottery and they tip a waitress huge amounts of money. Sure, people can misspend money, but we shouldn't keep, using the excuse of poor people just don't need money because they don't know how to spend it. The rich don't know how to spend it either. That's why they're hoarding it. They have no earthly idea what to do with all that money. They couldn't spend it all. They'll never be able to. When they die, it's going to go on to their kids. Their kids are going to become the next generation of spoiled, snot-nosed punks that are, as I sound like an old man there, oh my God. It's going to go on and on and on, and that wealth is going to be hoarded over and over again, because even if you look at people like Donald Trump, whose kids have gotten some money, there's just not enough Bavarian dancing dust for them to shove up their nose to spend all the money. There's just not. Granted, they're going to grift it from people, but anyway, the point is, even with all that money, it's just not. And I'm going to keep putting this out there for people to hear. If I suddenly came into $1 million, the amount of good I could do with that $1 million, I don't think people understand. I'm going to give you a fact here about myself, is that with $1 million, I would be set for the rest of my life. The rest of my life. I could retire right now if I had $1 million. And to give you another phrase that I like to put around, and I want you to think about this, but for the average American, that's 65% we're talking about, a $10,000 lump sum of cash solves problems. $100,000 is life-changing. $250,000 is comfort, and $1 million is set for the rest of your life for the average person. And you can argue that all you want, but those numbers are true. And for most people, that would do it. Most people. The average of that average, if you will, are the more than half of the United States citizens that holds true. So there's just that for you to think about.